My final way over the top custom HP Omen Obelisk. There's a lot of lights, as you guys can see. The CPU fans, system fan, the CPU cooler, Commander Pro, which controls the fans. That one up there controls the lighting of the fans. Radiator, 2 fans down there. The upgraded PSU, as you guys can probably see. Yep, that's right. This is a pump that I customly installed into this card. It was not easy, but it's functional. And see, it's the Corsair down there. And this is just the LED strip that came from the card from the bottom that I removed. It's just stuck on there. Not necessary, but whatever. If you guys want to see how I did this, stay tuned for later on the video. I'll show you guys how I went about doing that. But overall, it's pretty cool looking, I think. Okay guys, before we head on to the next video showing you on how I did that custom upgrade, I do need to talk to you guys about a couple of things. First one being, turn off the computer at all times when you disconnect or connect any components. You can short out some components. In fact, I shorted out 2 Commander Pros by not being careful. You think I would have learned the first one, but my dumbass didn't, and those are the results. But you can cause more damage to the motherboard or something greater like the graphics card. Second of all, there's nothing wrong with leaving the HP Omen Obelisk as it is. It's a beast of a computer. The only thing I recommend is downloading the software to control the GPU fan speed, allowing you to cool it down. It will affect your frames per second, but it's not that bad, and you have to deal with the fan noise. But me, my head's always thinking of ways to improve things. Therefore, I went and did all these custom things to it. And it's my first desktop, and I was scared on building one from scratch. But after all the tons of research that I did, working with this desktop, I am confident starting from the ground up on one of them. So don't be scared if you want to build your own. I'm not discouraging you from doing that either. It's fairly simple if you know what you're doing. Third and final thing I want to point out with HP is that when they said that they made this desktop so that it was easy for new or future upgrades on it, I'm not necessarily convinced they thought about other things on here other than upgrading the CPU. There's just not enough room in this desktop or connections on the motherboard. For example, there's no 2.0 USB connections, no additional fan headers on there. You know, it's just I don't see it. But if you're not planning on doing any other crazy stuff to it, it's just perfectly fine, like I mentioned. But without further ado, here's the next couple videos on showing you how to do that install. This is a more ambitious custom way of doing this. It's a lot harder than just keeping the Kraken G12 installation kit. The reason I'm doing it is because I was worried about the temperatures of the memory on this side, because this fan was only cooling this side. I did upgrade the fan on the Kraken G12 with it's a 92mm fan with a more powerful RPM one, and it did help with the temperatures on the memory. If you guys want to keep this kit on it, I do suggest you guys buy some aftermarket heat sinks to put on the memory around here, just to help dissipate the heat, and you guys should be perfectly fine with this kit. I do suggest though that you guys monitor the temps, however, just to be 100% sure they're under operating temperatures. So here's what I did. Now right now the the top plate and the middle plate are attached with the screws, but before that I had the the metal plate all by itself, which just holds this fan, and this is out of the way. It's not there. And I do need to mention, you do need to remove the thermal tape off. But what I did with this is the H75 2018 model pump. As you can see, it's round and this is square, so it wasn't making contact. So what I did was Dremel with a Dremel, reduce the sides. Now I don't know if you can tell, but I didn't go all the way. I just went more than halfway so that the pump was able to make contact, which it does now. And like I said, remember that it was just the middle plate by itself, so you don't damage any components or get any sheddings anywhere in there. And this is the bracket that came with this pump. Did not look like this, obviously, so these were flat, straight. What I did, because it was not fitting in there, I just bent them upwards to get that look, and so that they would fit. Once I did that, all I really did was try to center it as best I could. And I'm going to be using these holes that have the thread in them already, which they use these longer little screws. And like I said, first of all, what I did was center it as best I could. I traced it with pencil, and then I used the Dremel to reduce that. Once I did that, I once again centered it as best I could. From the top, I used a what do you call them? A sharp tool to just basically poke through those holes, so I would know where to drill these holes that would later hold this bracket. After that was done, I took these springs off of the screws that were holding the heat sink, because what I'll be doing with that is putting them over that, like that, attach the bracket to the pump, and then put the screws, and on goes the pump. So once you're done reducing that with the Dremel and got the right diameter for the pump to go in, reattach this plate onto the card, put the thermal tape back on, attach it to the top plate with the screws, and right now I've just added the thermal compound back on the GPU. I've lined up the springs. I put the bracket back on the pump here. I put the screws there, and I should just go over there and screw it back on. It's securely attached on to the card. It's important to note that it needs to be firmly on there, but not too firm to where to the point that you're going to cause damage to the chip on the card. Also, I learned the hard way that if it's not securely on there or making full contact, your card is going to act funny, and every time I started the game, the fan would spin at full RPM, and I was getting shitty frames per second. So I got lucky. All I had to do was just tighten the screws so it would be on there firmly. But at this point, the card's ready to go if you want to leave it like this. The reason being is because with the thermal tape on the memory, the heat is dissipating straight to this plate, and it's a big plate, so it's drastically reducing the heat. Plus this fan's cooling this side of the plate, and you get that effect where, you know, it's cooling the plate and then it's heating over here, so it dramatically reduces the heat, and it's good to go this way. But me, I'm not, I like to go overboard, so I'll be adding the cover, and I'm sure I have to do modifications on the side of the plate, bottom plate, to allow these hoses to go through. but we shall do that next. Point, I fitted the lid. Turns out the pump comes out further than the actual lid, so it's not closing. So what I'm going to do is cut around it, and by doing that I'm drilling holes, and with the razor I'm going to gently cut the outline there. So the drilling the holes helps me cut through the plastic easily with the razor blade there. So that's what I'm doing right now. And see, I just traced over it. It's gonna be rough, but whatever. Okay guys, so this is the shit job. It's a lot rougher than it looks, but on it goes. And I should probably remove this plate so you're not struggling like I am. Just give me 1 second here. And put the screws on, 3 on this side, 3 on the other side, and here's what you end up with. You'll also need to remove the LED lights on this plate here, but the pump is LED, so you know, whatever. I'll probably cover those holes as well. But the thing I liked about it is that now the airflow is gonna go around here through the back and cool down the memory even more. So essentially I ended up with a hybrid card, which is basically what they are, a CPU pump into the cards, but I made my own custom one, and I'm very happy with the results. Now it just goes back into the computer. So I've let this sit for about 30 minutes running PUBG, with the lid closed, just to see what the temperature would be on the card. And I do have a thermal sensor wedged in there touching the memory to monitor that. And I'm topped out at 60 frames per second on my 4K monitor. The card is being overclocked at 2000 megahertz right now, as you guys can see. The internal fan is only running at 65, which keeps it quiet at 3000 RPM. These are the RPMs of the 2 fans running the GPU, keeping it at 60, 61, 62. It doesn't go much further than that. This is the temperature on the memory itself, so it's only 4 degrees hotter, and I'm quite happy with that. So the memory would be these chips right there. See how you illuminate them? Well, I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's totally functional. If you guys decide to try it out, post your videos, see if you guys come up with better ideas. And once again, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it.